So this is Karla Pendleton. I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, my studio online. Today I'm going to talk about painting clematis using a one-fire method. Now those of you who have watched my previous videos on tulips and wild roses and peonies, and I think there's one on pansies, you know about the design aspects, you know a lot about the technique of the one-fire method. So today, in this series of videos, I just want to talk about the major players, the leaves and the Arabella type clematis. Now, why do I talk about Arabella so much is because Arabella is the hybrid of clematis that comes with 3 different petals numbers, and that would be 4 petals, 5 petals, or 6 petals. I like the 5 petals because when I paint that, I can decide if I want to transform my clematis into a columbine or leave it as a clematis. And I will show you that in these forthcoming videos, but we will just focus on leaves and flowers. We won't so much focus on technique and design. So let me start with the limited palette. You can see what I have here is French mauve, which is a very blue purple, not pink, but purple. Then I have a mixture of cobalt blue and navy blue, and I've got about 2 parts cobalt to 1 part navy in this mix. I also have mallard on my palette, which I use a lot as a background color. Then I have a very light chartreuse green, and I have old gold green, which is much more brownish in a middle tone, and black green, which is, of course, I darken everything with black green, except maybe for the reds, the iron barreling colors. I would use more of a black than a dark green. I also have a cherry red, just a dab because we won't use very much, lemon yellow, canary yellow, light yellow, just any kind of intense lemon yellow color. And I have white enamel on my palette. I'm going to use the white enamel and the lemon yellow in a 50-50 mixture to produce the yellow enamel here that we'll use on the centers. So, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we'll cover is the medium that I'm using. I always use Betty Humphries Art Aid when I'm using an open medium. It's kind of the peachy pink medium that you will see around a lot of art studios and classes in China painting. So the first thing I'm going to do is wet the tip of my finger, and I generally use this middle finger. Some people prefer the index finger. I'm just used to painting with my longest finger and avoiding the nail that way. So I'm loading it with just a little bit of medium. Now you saw me wipe off against the lip of the dish because I had a little bit too much. But I'm going into that blue, the 50%, or I'm sorry, 1 part cobalt blue, and 2 parts cobalt blue and 1 part navy blue. And I'm just going to put in a streak. That's going to be my first petal. Second petal. Now I'm getting a little dry. I'm picking up a little bit more medium on my finger. How can I tell it's too dry? It's not glistening. It looks dry. So I'm going to put a little bit more medium on that one. And then here's my 5th petal, or 4th petal, sorry. Lost track of my count there. And my 5th petal. Remember, this is the Arabella hybrid because we can do 1, or we can do 4, 5, or 6 petals on this particular hybrid. And I like the 5 petal one. Now, if I'm going to pick up a 3/4 inch brush here. If I'm going to put a background in, and I think I'll show you both techniques of background or no background on these petals, I'm going to load that 3/4 inch brush with quite a heavy load of medium. This is the Betty Humphries Art Aid. I'm picking up a double load, and let me see if a load all the way across, a full load. Maybe I can show you how much paint I'm picking up on that brush. Quite a bit. Then I'm going to side load in from an area that's been flattened of the old gold green. That's my middle value of green. I'm going to load that on the left corner. Plenty of medium, plenty of color, plenty of paint, and then just a little bit of black green on that left side. Palette down. We're going to go in there with that triple load and put in some dark color between these petals. Now I'm going to have to reload because I left it all on the plate, and that's good. So I'm doing that triple load again, heavy on the black green, especially up here near these petals. And then I'll fluff as I come away. And I think on this next one, next triple load, instead of the chartreuse, I'm going to load some mallard, just to give myself a little bit of different color in the background. Then I'll pull in some of that old gold green and a little bit of the black green on the corner, and I'll get just a slightly different color under these petals. Remember, you can only make a couple of strokes before you have to reload that brush. We want to lay plenty of color down on beneath this flower because we really want those petals to pop. I'm going to get a little bit more of the mallard green. Just pull it out. And then let's do a little bit more down here on this, between these two petals here. I'm going to bring it around. This will be our darkest area right here. And then just kind of brush it, fluff it out as you come away from the flower. These three petals will kind of leave right against the white china so that you can see the difference in the way they are shaped using the one fire method with a background and without. Okay, so we're done with our 3/4 inch brush, and now I'm going to go into that dirty medium. I may need a little bit more medium because I've just about run out putting that background on. I'm going to squirt a little bit more into my dish. I don't mind that it's dirty. I'm not going to clean it. I'm just going to keep those background colors. And I am loading now a 1/2 inch brush. So that is this size. I like the square shaders with the metal ferrule for this work, but you know, whatever you like best is fine. So I'm going to do a light blot on my cloth over here. I've got just a paper towel. I'm going to try to show that. You know, just a Viva paper towel, something soft, a cotton, silk, whatever you prefer. I'm going to just do a very light blot. Don't take out a whole lot of paint. And I'm going to load with some of that blue across the brush, and then just side load in some of the French mauve. That's the purpley color. I'm going to come in with strokes like this to define the shape of that petal. Okay, so they're just kind of very short C strokes coming up from the bottom, overlapping each other, and coming up towards the tip. So you get a little veining pattern going there. Now, and of course I don't have to worry about the background color here yet. I've dug into it a little bit, but I'm going to work on this one. I'm going to pull out a highlight along that stem, or along the main edge of that flower in the center, and I'm going to pull some color this direction. And then I will shape with my wipeout tool. I've got one of those wipeout tools where you've got a wedge at one end and then a sharper tip at the other end. Very convenient. Okay, so first petal finished. Let's go to the next one. Again, I'm going to do a full load of the blue, just a side load of the French mauve, and we're going to do this next petal very similarly. but probably not exactly, because we don't want two petals looking exactly alike. It gets a little bit too uniform. And these do not really have that pointed of a tip as I've left on this one or this one, so we'll pare that down a little bit on the clematis. We don't want a real sharp tip. And then we will come back in, and instead of pulling this center vein out to highlight there, we will instead come in, lightly blot, take some of that color off, and pull in from the outside in toward the center. And that gives this petal a little bit different look than this one. Okay, let's do one more. So full load of the blue, side load of the French mauve, which is a bluish purple. And we'll get this one in here. And let's go ahead and maybe think about a turn back on this one. So let's just get a little scoop there, a little concave area in our petal. And let's go ahead and make that highlight around the edge. Then lightly blot, pull some of that color that's accumulated in your brush off, and just lightly pull, kind of diagonal strokes, up towards the tip of that petal. Yeah, maybe a little bit of softening right there. And now let's put that turn back in. We'll just use the wipeout tool. This time I'm using the pointy end. And we'll put that turn back in. You see we had to have that concave area under here, which is the space that the petal edge would have taken up if it wasn't turned back. So that gives us more of a 3D look. And sometimes I get just a little bit too much color wiped off from underneath that. I'm going to use a little bit of the French mauve to kind of put that highlight, or that color, that darker shading in behind that wipeout, or that wiped out edge there, and maybe just a little more there too. Okay, we don't get that tip too sharp, and there we have it. I think I might ruffle up. This edge is a little bit straight, so let's go in and ruffle it up a bit. Okay, so we've got 3 of the petals done. We can do a little cleanup on this edge. You don't want it too straight. Maybe take a couple divots out of this one here too, because these clematis tend to kind of twist and turn a little bit. They're really more of a scalloped edge than a real smooth edge. Sometimes they even come up like this to show quite an elongated tip, like that. So there's things you can do if one petal gets too big. You can do things like this to change things. Okay, let's do those other 2 that are against the background. And we'll do a very similar thing. Again, reloading, wiping the excess against the lip of the dish, the excess oil, and doing a light blot on my cloth over here. And I'm going to pick up just the side load now of the French mauve. I didn't really load with any other color because I'm going to be picking up some color out of this background. You see, there's those little C strokes coming up towards the tip. And now I'm going to pull a highlight out of that background right there and pull some of that color now in toward the center of the leaf, of the petal, I mean. Okay, let's do that again on the other side. Again, I'm reloading with a little oil, blotting lightly, side load of the French mauve, which is kind of a purpley blue color, and I'm going to come in and do this petal. And this time, I'm going to shape that edge again a little bit and pull in the color from the background onto that petal as much as I can without losing the shape of the petal. So there we have it. There's the basic shape of this clematis. I might bring that petal in just a little closer. And now we're ready to put in the center. So the center of the clematis looks kind of spidery. Oh, no, that's not right. This is clematis, so we're going to have to show the very distinguishing aspects of the clematis. And that is these highlights that I'm wiping out along the center of the petals. This is typical of clematis. You see it in almost every, or well, I should say a lot. Some varieties it's stronger than others. It's very strong in the Arabella variety that we're painting. And so we'll go ahead and put those in with a wipeout tool. Again, I'm just using the pointy edge and make them different lengths. You don't want them all the same length. Pull one out there. I generally put 3, but then sometimes I'll put 4. So it doesn't really matter. You're going to next use a liner. That's these small, fine length out brushes. I've loaded, you can see a lot of medium on there because I'm going to go into the French mauve. And I'm really going to load quite a bit of color onto that liner. I think you can see how much color there is there. I'm going to put this in at the base of a petal, and then I'm going to pull out some more of those, what I guess if it was I would call it whiskers if it was a pansy. Since it's a clematis, I actually don't know what they call them. They may call them whiskers too. But they're just very distinctive of this particular flower. And again, I'm just pulling. The only reason I put the highlight in there is because I wanted some highlight left when I came back out. And I'm reloading between each one. So I'm putting plenty of color in that center, or near the center of the flower. And then I'm just pulling that color up along those whiskers. And so some of them we're covering up, and some of it we're leaving highlighted. This is a quick way to get a nice highlighted effect on those petals while putting in those whiskers that are so distinctive. Okay, one more here. And then we'll turn around, we'll do this other one. Obviously, you don't want them all looking the same, so we're not launching the space shuttle here. They all need to be kind of different. Let your painting be loose. Don't try to be regimented on this step. Actually, this entire method is fairly loose. We want to recognize it's a clematis, but we don't have to be photographic about it. Okay, so I've got my little whiskers in. I should really learn what those are called, but I don't know. Maybe somebody does, and you'll write to me and let me know. By the way, my email address is khpendleton@hotmail.com. That's Pendleton, Pendleton, Pendleton @hotmail.com. Okay, I think we're ready for the center now, and I like to wipe it out because it's going to be yellow. And when you put yellows and blues or yellows and purples together, you get gray. So let's go ahead and wipe out some stamen. They're kind of spidery, they're plentiful, they definitely have a long length out. Since we're looking at the clematis full on in this particular demonstration, in the next demo, I'll show you how to kind of do a more sideways view and possibly a bud. Okay, I think we've got enough. Highlight out there, and now I'm going to clean or pick up a fresh liner. In this case, I'm just going to clean it. And now I'm going to load from some clean medium. I don't want dirty medium this time around, but I want... Sorry, it looks like my record button stopped automatically. At any rate, I'm going to lay the stamen in with a combination of 50% Basically 1 and 1, 1 part white enamel, 1 part lemon yellow, and just mix those together. Mix them up very well. You don't want to see any streaks or places where it's not been mixed properly. And I'm just going to combine it with what I already had on my palette. So I've got plenty of this mixture to work with. And I'm going to loosen it up a little bit so it's easier. I'm going to use clean medium again. Just get some off my medium dish over here. And I think I got some clean in this corner too, because I do not want to muddy this. That's one reason we made the wipeouts, is so we would not muddy the yellow enamel when we put it in. Looks like I got a brush hair in there. Might want to get that out. Okay, maybe just a little bit more medium, clean medium. If you don't have any clean medium left in your, looks like I got a little muddy right there. If you don't have any clean medium left, put some more in your medium dish or clean it out, one or the other. Now I'm going to load with that clean medium again. I'm loading that. I think I showed you that already, but it's got plenty of medium on this liner brush, and I'm going into that 50-50 mixture of lemon yellow and white enamel. And it should be a little bit stringy, but not too loose. I'm going to lay that down in here. Plenty of it, I think. Let's put a little more down there, all along this edge where the petals all connect together. And now we'll load the brush one more time and we'll start pulling out the stamen. So it's just a quick stroke and release. If you pick up too much of the blue color or the blue mauve, clean your brush on the towel. Don't put it in more medium. Clean the brush on the towel and just wipe off that excess when you pick up too much of that petal color, because it will muddy your stamen very quickly. Like right here especially, where I'm going through all of that dark paint. I want another stamen there, but I didn't have the foresight to put one in that far when I was doing the wipeouts. Okay, so that's basically, I guess I might need a few more little hints of stamen over on this side, and maybe a couple of longer ones here towards the center. And that's the basic stamen. I'm going to clean my brush now, pick up some more, this time clean medium, and I'm going to go into that English orange. I think I mentioned, oh, it's cherry red actually. I think it's cherry red that I put on the palette. But that reddish color, I'm going to come in here and just kind of dot some in, because there are some overtones of an orangey red in the stamen. Now, what do yellow and red make? Kind of not much red left. So I'm going to emphasize them a little bit more than I really want to see on the final after the fire, because the yellow will eat some of this. And so there we have it. I would consider this clematis done. Now there are some varieties that you would see a little more pollen outside on the edges of this. I don't tend to paint them that way, so I would call this flower done. So before I go, I thought it would be interesting for you to take a little closer look, not only at the flower I've made, but at the tools I'm using. Of course, we've got the 3/4 inch brush, the 1/2 inch brush. I've got a couple different liners, a small pointer, the wipeout tool, then a palette knife, and I've got a couple smaller 1/4 inch quills here that I might have used if I was doing a little bit different angle on this flower. My medium dish, which I've now cleaned out, so I'm ready to put some fresh medium in it. Of course, the palette we've gone through quite a lot. And then I've got the Duratine brush cleaner and conditioner. This is really nice because it doesn't have any fat oil in it to gum up your brushes. But if you've got a gummy, stiff brush, this will not take it out. You would need lavender oil, maybe in a little bit of citrus cleaner, like Goo Gone, something like that. Just be careful using that Goo Gone. It can start taking the adhesive out of the brush, so you don't want that to happen. But at any rate, soak them in that, and then they should soften up. Rinse it out, and then you can start using the Duratine brush cleaner and conditioner so that you don't have to rely on that turpentine or anything with fat oil in it. Now here is a close-up of what we've been doing. Let me see if I can get the lighting a little bit better, less direct. This is basically what we've been working on, and that's that full facing flower of Arabella Clematis. I do want to go ahead and zoom in if I can do it without wrecking anything. Here's where we were doing the little C strokes that we use along the edges of the petals, and that will not be going away. We'll use it in the leaves next, so it might be a good idea to kind of keep that in mind. It's those short diagonal C strokes working up one side of the petal. And here's the actual close-up of the work we've done to paint this clematis. Now, those of you who like the fuller clematis with the pudgier leaves, pudgier petals, certainly you can make these as big or as small as you like. So there we have it. That will conclude this step, painting the full clematis. Next, I think we'll take a look at leaves and do something with this background that we've used for the demonstration. So thank you for your kind attention. Again, this is Karla Pendleton signing off. You can reach me with questions or concerns because I don't look at comments. I'm not sure I know exactly how to do that. Certainly I don't respond, but you can reach me at khpendleton@hotmail.com, or you can give me a call, 970-799-1788. I'd love to hear your questions and comments, suggestions for improvements. I am not the world's best videographer, so if you've got some help with that, it certainly would be appreciated. Let me get just one more real close up, and hopefully that's not so close it's out of focus, but there's the work that I've demonstrated today. I'm grateful for you watching, and share this video with other people if you like. It's public access. I would love to have comments back, but not on the channel because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to read them. I don't know how to respond to them. But I could use a lot of help with videography, obviously. So thank you so much. Have a blessed, wonderful day, and may God bless all your efforts with porcelain art. Bye now.